Joan, get me a Snapple.
When the sky goes dark and things go bump in the night, your mind begins to wonder what exactly is making that sound. In Sevier County, Tennessee, they know exactly what is making that sound. Bigfoot. That's right. Come and join Reverend Jeff Kelly as he brings Northeast Tennessee's encounters to life. Along with that, we get more news of the week, a new quasi-theory, and wrapping it all up with a fantastic Bigfoot campfire story. And now, here's your host, Reverend Jeff Kelly.
Welcome, everybody. That's right. That should also have included a brand new Camping Tips for Stupids by Jeb and Moore. That's right, the Life and Times of JCM. But I didn't get it to Mr. Announcer Guy before Mr. Announcer Guy was finished here. Let's get past the white tips here. Hi, everybody. I am indeed the Reverend Jeff Kelly, son of the great Kruskin. And you'll understand that if you were ever a Johnny Carson watcher, I'm here, you're there, makes the whole thing awesome. And as usual, we're going to start it off with some news of the week. And that news is going to wrap up with an epic rant. Oh, boy, is the fuckery about. And we going to talk about it. Let's see here. Just a moment. Let me get the right things up here for just a moment. I just all flustered today. It's been a weird day. It's been a weird week. But for sure, don't forget about the camp out coming up in August. If you haven't gotten your position reserved by now, you might be out of luck. I got one or two left. So get a hold of me, sloungepodcast@gmail.com, or get a hold of me on Facebook and get your spot round up, because we are getting full and we're only about 8 weeks out. Anyhow, back to the news here. This amazing dinosaur found accidentally by miners in Canada, known as the Nodosaur. This 110 million year old armor-plated eater is the best preserved fossil of its kind. It's a dragon, y'all. I'm sorry. It's got to be where the legends of dragons come from. These people walking down, dragon, and they run away. But rock dragon, I don't know. I wasn't really a Dungeons and Dragons fan, but apparently this is what the thing looked like. National Geographic has got a big long expose about it, but I'm not going to read all that to you because it's got a whole bunch of Latin that I ain't going to get through. Plus, as you can see, we got a bunch of other stuff to go through. So check it out. It's in the Squatchers Lounge, facebook.com/groups/SLounge, and you can read it there. Thanks to, of course, I believe that was Mr. Dean Cooper that brought that one in. Bad news. The ctpost.com reports chimpanzee dies in a fall from a tree at the Kansas City Zoo. The zoo said Wednesday that the chimp called Bahati climbed a tree while interacting with other chimps, and he fell to the ground after grabbing a dead branch and died from injuries from the fall. Zookeepers estimate Bahati fell 30 to 40 feet to his death. The zoo says the chimp area includes natural trees, which are monitored by staff and professionally trimmed annually. He was born at the Sedgwick County Zoo in Wichita in '86, and he came to Kansas City in just February this year from Tampa's Lowry Park Zoo. That's right, the Kansas City Zoo now down to 12 chimpanzees. Yeah, this is another reason we shouldn't be keeping large primates in zoos anymore. We can put up digital displays of what chimpanzees look like in the wild and what they do in the wild, how they sound in the wild. Hell, we can put smell-o-vision in there and just put dirty chimp shit on the floor so you know what they smell like too. The days of keeping large primates that aren't endangered should probably end in America. Once upon a time, it was a needed thing, but with 109-inch screens, not so much anymore. I bet you we could design a zoo-like exhibit that you wouldn't even know that the animals weren't behind it. All right, we're going to move along one more time here to the CarolinaBeachToday.com. What in the world will we be talking about the Carolina shores for? Because there's an alligator in the saltwater. Oops. Now, usually you hear about saltwater crocodiles, and that's a normal thing. Well, in South Carolina, the rivers are full of alligators, and every once in a while they'll ride that river all the way out to the ocean and play in the surf, eat at the fish, and eventually, and as you can tell here, these fellas sure do look like they already know what's going on. Of course, the alligator's natural instinct is to bite that rope and wrap up, and they already have a device moving from the beach, as you can see, handled hands by the Fish and Wildlife guys in South Carolina. I saw this myself when I lived there in Charleston. It's kind of a freaky thing to see an alligator out riding the waves, eating at the bait fish. But hey, what do you know? Lots of weird things are seen there every single day. Okay. Archaeological Magazine posted this on Facebook, and I wanted to bring it up to bring it to everybody's attention. This is what's called a wiki up, not a Sasquatch TP, not a Sasquatch marker, not a Sasquatch anything. Look at the size of the trees that we're using here, and also look that they are not cut. Most of them are broken. Saws back then, they had friggin' hand axes and stuff like that. So come to the conclusion that when you see something of a structure of something like this, it's most likely not Bigfoot. It's most likely Native American. And that's, as far as I'm concerned, far cooler and far more interesting. So keep in mind that structures like this are most likely ancient Indian areas, and start looking for arrowheads because they're probably going to pop up on the trail everywhere you look. Okay, here we go. News at the WPXI.com, baby. The hunt for Bigfoot in Crawford County is on. A $1 million bounty offered. Yeah. Cambridge Springs, Pennsylvania. TJ Biscardi, Joan Get Me a Snapple's son, and his team were making their way through a seemingly ordinary wooded area in rural Crawford, just east of Cambridge Springs last week. They made careful note of their surroundings, on the lookout for possible signs of their quarry. The afternoon rain had stopped, but the downpour made it difficult to distinguish possible footprints from the effects of runoff. By the way, this is not their footprint. This footprint was actually taken from a different publication. I'm not really sure why it is that they're running around the country doing this type of thing. The $1 million bounty is indeed an insurance policy, much like the hole-in-one golf course scams. It's an insurance policy that has to be authenticated by whoever the insurance policy experts are. So good luck in ever claiming your $1 million. And it's for a body leading to a body. Just read the wording on that Searching for Bigfoot website, and you can find that out for yourself. Okay. About it last week to where Bigfoot really wasn't there. Well, these kids didn't get the message, and they went out looking for Bigfoot and caught it on video. That's right. They ran around, did all kind of weird stuff, and looked for Bigfoot in Round Rock, which is what Round Rock wanted. They wanted to get more people out in their parks. Well, that's about what I can say about that. You can check this one out. Statesman.com. All right. The elusive Rob Lowe and his sons have officially seen and had a Bigfoot encounter, and he thought he was going to be killed. Apparently, the Lowe files is, Rob Lowe. Rob Lowe's running around the country looking for urban legend stuff, and apparently now this is where it all comes down. I do believe there's probably ghosts out there. The rest of what we found is in a case-by-case basis, but we had an incredible encounter with what locals call a wood ape, which is in the Ozark Mountains. I'm fully aware that this sounds crazy. Hollywood kook right now. Genuinely terrified. I was laying on the ground thinking I was going to be killed. What exactly is a wood ape? Well, a wood ape is the local vernacular for Sasquatch or Bigfoot. This is what I love about the show. We have fun with all of this. We hit the bullseye between the true believer and skeptic in a fun way. Yeah, okay, people. If they had footage of a Bigfoot, they would not wait to air this reality show between Rob Lowe and his kids. It would already be out there. The footage would be real. It's worth far more than what the advertising is going to come out for this show. I'm not a big fan of Rob Lowe's, but hey, whatever. I doubt seriously they had an encounter with any kind of Bigfoot. But lucky for you, the Bigfoot show is the finale. Yeah. Hey, everybody, good news. September 22nd and 23rd at the Bitterroot River Inn and Conference Center, 139 Bitterroot Plaza Drive in Hamilton, Montana. The Big Sky Bigfoot Conference of 2017 is going to happen. That's right. Join us for Montana's only annual Bigfoot Conference. Speakers, exhibits, vendors, kids' activities, door prizes, and loads more. I talked to the directors of this thing. It's going to be a fun time. They're not putting up weirdos and crackpots as speakers. They're really trying to expand it through all of the groups. So if you're going to be anywhere near Montana, Hamilton, Montana, September 22nd or 23rd, or can plan to be there, this is the place to be, the Big Sky Bigfoot Conference 2017. You can always contact me for details. We'll post this up in the lounge here later in the week. Okay, finally, we're getting to Reverend Jeff's little bit of an epic rant. Now, there's been a gentleman in the lounge the last few weeks who's been posting about how he's an extensive traveler and he's a First Nations person, and he's in contact with all the First Nations tribes, and how he's traveling around the country and he's dealing with other reservations and teaching them how to have ecotourism or Aboriginal tourism. Well, apparently this Thomas Seward fella, who he and I had some words where his only options were to do this ecotourism or to become a welfare Indian on his reservation, and there weren't any other choices over it. And the guy just touched me in the wrong way. Not like, almost. Well, Richard Allen of the Rantings of a Schizophrenic Brit blog happened upon this article that shows that my feelings were right. Always trust your gut. Always trust your gut. Well, apparently this same fella here was rebuked by his own people for opening the bone boxes for travelers. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm not really taking money and then riding them up to my grandparents' graves and kicking open the old monolithism. So that thing. Look at my grandparents. I'm not real sure who this guy is trying to invent himself to be, but I don't know a native tribe anywhere, including his own, because they rebuked him for doing this, who thinks that showing the bones is something you should be doing. And now this man's traveling the country talking to other reservations about how to set up their ecotourism types of things. This part of it, I don't believe so. And I doubt very seriously that any of those tribes that have seen him so far even know about this, which is one of the reasons that we are bringing it up. But the ultimate reason I'm bringing it up, and the rant from the old reverend's getting hot here for a moment, I'm really trying to stay calm about this. It's a simple fact. This is what we call a sycophant to the Bigfoot community. Much like the Johnson, who the moment anything bad or differing of his opinion shows up, blocks and removes anyone from his group or our eyesight. It's exactly what this coward did. As soon as Richard posted this and asked him about it, he blocked him. And then when I asked him about it, he blocked me. Right before he posted a nasty post about religion and Bigfoot. Well, then the First Nations people were forced into religion, and of course that these people were going to be the same people that forced Bigfoot into religion, and posted some inflaming portraits to go along with the story. And then when I asked him, well, if he thought it would be okay for him to open the boxes of the Sasquatch burials for people to see, well, that's when he blocked me and ran away as well. I'm just telling you, dude, you can block me from you being able to see it, but you're not going to block me from telling my 9,000 subscribers about it. See, that's how the media works. I'm not a news person, but I'm definitely somebody who delivers media. And congratulations, jackass. You win the I'm a Dirtbag Award of the Week. maybe even all of 2017. But opening up the boxes of your ancestors to show for money is a do. And if I ever catch you around my neck of the woods, you better hope you can run faster than I can. I can't run very fast, but I don't think you can either. That, folks, is going to wrap it up for this rant for the old Reverend, because God love you've listened to enough. Okay. That puts us into the part that we actually like, and that's time to hear a quasi-theory from our quasi-theorist, Mr. Dean Cooper. As soon as I can find his picture to load, we'll get that right on the screen for you guys. What is it this week? You'll have to find out. And now, quasi-theories from a quasi-scientist with your host, Dean Cooper.
The forces of annoyance hypothesis. I am certain that the universe itself is intelligent and creative, from the highest heavens to the lowest atoms beneath our feet, from the beautiful form of a galaxy to the whorls of a mouse's toe print. Creative intelligence is in ancient metaphysics. The one initial intelligent force was said to have become two, then three, and then many, while still being one force overall, with all forces sharing in that intelligence. All the ancient cultures gave names to these individualized forces. At the higher, more cosmic end, you've got your archangels, your gods of Olympus, your Hindu devas. Or you get your Arabian jinn or genies, your leprechauns, your Lorelei. Down at the bottom are your fairies. When you get down to our level, the subsets of forces we encounter are less intelligent and cunning. The force I will discuss today is a small force, immediate vicinity. It is the force that ties a knot in the garden hose you just straightened out, that jams a spatula half upright when you go to open a kitchen drawer. You can tell when this force is activating. You brush your teeth. Then when you bend over the sink to spit out the toothpaste suds, back up to see how white and shiny your teeth are, the medicine cabinet door is just a tinch wider open than you left it, so that you bang your head on the corner of it. Then when the tears of pain subside a bit, you look at your smile. You see a little piece of spinach that was not there before you started brushing. Then your coat pocket will snag on the doorknob on your way out and rip that pocket just a bit. You think, I couldn't do that on purpose if I tried 1,000,000 times. Yet, it happened. Next, your untied shoelace, which you know you double knotted, between the door and the door sill as you close the door on your way out. This sequence of events is now beyond all likelihood of being random. A low level of cunning intelligence is implied, with a sense of humor of a clown with a pie in his hand. You release a stream of invective so loud and vile that your neighbors slam their windows shut. When you squeeze your fist so tightly your door key draws blood from the palm of your hand, it will stop, for you have made a blood sacrifice. We're at work. You may read the text of this on my blog at bydean.com. AIDIN.com.
Well, there you have it. It's just a little bit annoying. Not sure what skipping is out there, folks. It may just be the archive will most likely be just fine. So let's go ahead and kick it up a notch with camping tips for stupids. That's right. I'm sure of it. Oh, gotta love when that happens. Yep. Y'all just learned my secret.
Camping tips for stupids. Tip number 42. God is good. That's why he made all these motherfuckers. Wasps. Bug season is upon you all, and you're all gonna die. Wasps are the most widespread, common stinging insect out there, buzzing all around, look at them hippie liberal millennials with their damn man buns. All it's done. It's a fact of life, I'm afraid. So here now are some tips to ease your suffering and greet your ancestors in the great halls of Valhalla like a ball. Now with bees, the first step stinger. But wasps don't leave stingers and considerable times. So the first step would be to get that as fast as possible and then kill it. My favorite method is a flamethrower. Like the famous saying goes, kill it with fire. Make sure you clean the sting side with good antibacterials like non-spider bites or flea or tick bacteria on them that cause nasty infections under the skin layers. So wash your dirty ass with soap. Then gonna just start to swig some pain pills. Then thank God that you don't live in Japan, where they have the Asian giant hornet, which can reach up to 2.5 inches in fucking size, actively hunt and destroy nearby bee colony and have then a powerful little pit around the. This has been Camping Tips for Stupids. Remember to stay away from rural Japan.
Stay away from rural Japan. That's right. That's probably a really good piece of advice for the rest of your life. Stay away. And okay, everybody, now it's time to give them shout outs. If you haven't said hi to me in the lounge, I don't know you're here. So get out there. Showtime, 8 p.m. Wednesday nights. Leave a message in the chat box and I'll say hi to you too. James the Grower, he's floating around out there with a Sam Squanch Rivera and our quasi-theorist, Mr. Dean Cooper, checking in. Easy Rider, that's right. He's going to be joining us for the camp out here in August. Him and a bunch of his friends from LA. Look there, there's a again. Holy crap! I got my cold back. I'm so glad you're back with us, everybody. Let's see here. Rod Dupree, he's always in the place to be. Natalie Smith, she made it in live tonight. There's Mike A. Life and Times of JCM, of course, he's there as well as Derlin Drake floating around out there. It sounds like a Harry Potter character. I swear to God. Let's see here. Stino Ronnie. I know Barefoot Ronnie, and I don't know Stino Ronnie. I bet you that's a chick, though, because it's spelled that way. Natalie Smith, I said hi to you already, but I'm going to say hi twice because, well, there you are. I'm here. You're there. Makes everything awesome. Jonathan Dowdy, how you doing? Dowdy, I can never sure. Let's see here. I know I saw Obsidian Radio say hi in here a little while ago, so I know he's there as well. Starshine, she's always in the house. I'm one of our biggest fans. We love you, Starshine. Oreo Cream Rocks. Yes, it does. I just thought about being a tough old bird. Let's see here. Who else is floating around in the house tonight? There's Keith. Harden. How you doing there? I know that Gary and Whitney White are floating around out there bringing onions back from California. Whoop, doggies, get that stank out the damn truck before you come into my place. Let's see here. Who else is out there tonight? Lots of people hanging out, that's for sure. I can see you in the hangout. There's more than what's listed here, but I can only say hi if you say hi to me. Timothy Mick. How you doing there, sir? I had to look at that. That's a very small name. Print. There we go. I know there's more people out here as well. Lance Windsor. How you doing, sir? Jason Gerd. He's also there. We're getting towards the top. So if you haven't said hi, you better say hi at the bottom. Or I might miss out. We'll see. Did I say Brown Dwarf? I'm pretty sure I did, but I'll say hi again just in case. You guys were hanging out early tonight, and that's what's nice about the chat box because it's there like all day long. All right, we're going to scroll back down to the bottom here and see if we missed anybody. And if we didn't, then whoop, buddy, let's see, who was that orange one? I don't know where they went now. They've certainly disappeared, and my poor computer can't keep up with everything. So, oh, I did say hi to that guy. Okay, good shape. Down to the very end, Tim McCune. There you go. And away we go. There's Robert Satter. He's also hanging out as well. No chick flick, huh? Okay, well, your icon is pink. It's kind of hard not to know the difference. Well, not this year or last year, but one day they will be again. I like the Bucks. I used to follow some of the players before it became a non-sport anymore. Okay, people, let's get back to it. Tonight we are talking about Sevier County, Tennessee. It's actually like one of the most visited counties in Tennessee because, as you can see here, it's literally Gatlinburg, Pigeon Forge, Sevierville. I'm trying to get the local diction right, but I'm sure Sevierville. It's where Dollywood is. Over Gatlinburg is there. Plus, it's the access to the Great Smoky Mountain National Park, and Klingman's Dome is right on the very edge of it, where we talked about the German tourists out there camping and feeding to Sam Squinch. Tonight we have another Tennessee Bigfoot campfire story at the end. So I've literally been here a lot. I've researched in the Great Smokies along this area. This is, again, part of the Appalachian Trail. Not really, but it's all just one. If we click over here to the satellite and let it load for a moment, an idea of what I mean, it's all the same. So let's kick into it here and take a look at what we have for reports from this area. 1970 in the spring, April, Sevier County, Tennessee. That's right. From Gatlinburg, take Highway 441 towards Cherokee, North Carolina. Just past the park entrance sign is where the sighting occurred. Smokemont is the name of the city, closest city. In late spring of 1970, while traveling south between Gatlinburg and Cherokee, North Carolina on Highway 441, somewhere near the state line in the Great Smoky Mountains National Park, we sighted a very tall, hairy creature. We were cruising down the road, wondering if we would see any bear, and as we rounded there was this creature coming from the right side of the road, downgrade from some small trees and bushes that still had leaves. It moved across the road directly in front of us, and after entering the bushes on the left side of the road, angled off the same direction we were traveling. We could see its head for a few seconds before it disappeared. I would guess the height to be somewhere in the 7-foot plus range. It had very long stride and walked like a human, swinging its long arms with its stride. It covered a distance of 100 feet or so in just seconds. Pardon me. There were no noticeable features that stood out. It was tall, slender, smooth, clean, straight hair that covered the whole body, and its head just seemed to come out of the body with no noticeable neck. We were flabbergasted at the sight of it and tried to convince ourselves it was a bear, but we knew it could not have been because of the way it walked and its height. No nose protruded, nor could we see any facial features, as it never even looked at us, nor showed us any signs of us being there. We were cruising along about 45 miles an hour with no other traffic on the road that day. It happened so quick that my wife never had time to pick up the camera in her lap and get a picture. So goes the saying, it always happens when you're unprepared. She even had a camera in her lap and still didn't have the time. All right, the April time, skinny. So after the winter, would kind of make sense. Here's another one in the wintertime, 1997 in December. It's not exactly winter, but we'll see. Let's see, near Gatlinburg, Tennessee, on the Park Road. I recently began working at the Army Hospital and befriended someone that had experience with what was considered a juvenile Sasquatch. After 17 years, that night is still very vivid and etched in my mind. with the help of Google Earth Maps, blah, 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 blah. Okay, there we go. Sorry, I didn't prep this one ahead of time. It's 1997. And we wanted to take me to the spot that he said looked spectacular under the full moon. We reached the spot and had a clearing of deforested area to the right with a 45-degree grade. Cut against the mountain edge, and it was a spectacular view with a fresh coating of snow that had fallen. The section of the road had a landing cut at the end of the curve, and we had backed up into we could see any oncoming traffic. We had been there approximately an hour, and the cab in my truck had gotten a little too cold, so I turned on the truck and put the heater vent on. My friend had noticed something in the road when the windshield defrosted. We were staring at a full-grown male boar that was rooting through the snow on the edge of the road. This thing was huge, and it made me regret not having my rifle or bow with me. One of those chance of a lifetime seeing something like that just 60 to 70 yards away. We were downwind from him, and he must have watched that boar for at least 10 minutes. When all of a sudden, it sniffed in the air and was gone. It ran like it feared for its life across the road and up the left side of the mountain that had the same 45-degree grade going up. My friend and I both wondered what would have made it run like that. Took off, and we listened for any kind of noise that could have spooked him. We both talked about what we would have made it run away like that. She joked that it was probably a black bear since they were common sightings out there. Maybe 5 minutes had passed when she peered out the windshield and pointed to the tree line and told me to look. Both thought it was a black bear within the tree line in the background to make out the shape. It wasn't until it was approximately at the same spot where the boar was and it was standing upright, I strained to see what I thought I was seeing. We were still downwind from the spot where it was standing and had not noticed us yet. It was standing upright. It was looking at the ground as if tracking the boar. I watched it for a good 5 minutes, and I tried to tell myself that everything in my mind was negating that it was not a black bear. Bears do not stand up and rear up unless provoked, or they need the height to look into something in the distance. Second, if it does not stand up, it does not walk a good 20 or 25 yards on two legs like this form did coming out of the tree line up a 45-degree slope. Third, when bears rear up, their front arms and feet come towards the center of their mass and long arms that swung at its side. It stood over the spot where the boar had been rooting, and it was staring, and I was staring in disbelief. Mind you, my friend and I had not been drinking, and neither one of us smokes, so there was nothing in our systems that could have been creating this image. It was a complete full moon, but it was behind the form. So all we could really see was the outline of it, and I strained to see its face form a little better. To the left side of my dash and bob, and then the high beams. There stood a figure approximately 8 to 8.5 feet tall. I could see the steam of its breath as it folded its left arm over its face and blocked out my high beam from its face. It stood there frozen as if he were trying to figure out what was causing this light, and then tried to see between its fingers at my truck, but the lights must have really blinded it because it kept dodging its head back and forth to get a better look at us. We were at a stalemate. I was in disbelief at what I knew I was looking at, and it was in disbelief at these two lights that were peering at him from the darkness. To the side, and the lights still bothered him because in an instant his face went from puzzlement to one of anger. I remember his eyes were this glowing amber red color, and his brow was frowned, which only intensified more the longer the light shined upon him. He grunted, and the steam from his mouth was a great billow of smoke. His hot breath hitting the cold midnight air. It looked like he was going to take steps forward towards the truck, and I laid on the horn. I remember his body shuddering at the noise, and he turned towards the same general area as the board had run up. 3 strides for him to cover approximately 20 feet of the roadway, and he reached up for the base of a small sapling, grabbed it, and propelled himself up the mountain, and in a matter of 2 seconds, he was gone. Wow. Now, I've told my story. You people, fans of the show, have heard it before. You know, the Sasquatch came out of a wood line, went down an embankment, walked along a short period of the game trail, turned back up an embankment, and literally reached up into the tree line and grabbed a tree and propelled himself up the embankment with both arms. It's kind of one of my hypotheses of why their arms are still long. I call it terrestrial brachiation. There is no such thing, but it's the only way I can really explain what I mean in my hypothesis. Move right along to the next one here. One comes up as the year 2002. Summertime. That's right, July 1st, right before Gatlinburg, Tennessee, again on Highway 441 and 71. Driving north and just crossed the border into Tennessee from North Carolina on Highway 441 and 71, driving towards Gatlinburg. It was getting dark, so we drove on down the mountain. After a few minutes of driving around the curves in the highway, we came to a straight section of the highway and could see lights through the tree-covered highway about a mile ahead. In the highway where they were positioned, and all of a sudden, from our vantage point, the lights illuminated the shadow side of a very tall being crossing the highway from left to the right, which was less than a half mile in front of us. We all had a clear view of this being from the shadow side. It looked hairy and not clothed. It was walking on 2 feet the entire crossing of the highway. We could not see anything when we got to that area. This being had crossed due to the darkness. It was an ape-like, in my opinion, and large. Crossings here at this 441 area, going from back and forth between Gatlinburg and Cherokee, North Carolina, sure does sound place. For sure, North Carolina would be over in this direction here. So we're running right along 441 on that line, and you're running right along the ridge lines. I mean, these animals, as we talk about, move, from back and forth across the ridge lines. They're feeding and they're drinking up there, depending on the time of the year. But as the year goes on, we always seem to find them in higher elevations. Got another one here from the year 2006. Possible vocalizations heard near Pigeon Forge. My husband and I were staying in a mountain cabin in the Pitsea this past week and heard what we believe was the call of the Sasquatch. It was around 8:30 or 9 o'clock on April the 11th. We were sitting on the back porch, relaxing, enjoying the quietude of the evening. The air was somewhat smoky, although clearing. Some sort of fire or brush burn off on another nearby mountain, and the wind was blowing the smoke in our direction, southeast. It was not quite totally dark yet, but was past dusk, and the moon was visible, though hazy, in the sky. The frogs were croaking, the birds were quiet, the squirrels were down for the night. No vehicles or people were in earshot. We seemed to be the only cabin inhabited at the time. The weekenders had left, and no one had arrived to take their places yet. Anyway, all of a sudden, we heard this sound that I can only explain as a cross between a howl and a yell. It was a vocalization without any real structure, no words or progression of sounds that could be construed as any sort of language. It was definitely a mammal, and it just not any canine, feline, bear, raccoon, or other sort of animal one would expect to hear in the woods of this area. Also, obviously not any sort of livestock. The animal seemed like it must have come from an animal at least man-sized or bear-sized, and sounded like an animal calling, making a warning sound or an identifying sound. It carried what seemed to be a long way, sounded as if it came from the south-southeast, at least from the other side of the mountain next to us. And just west of Pigeon Forge, around the Walden area, the calling went on for 2 to 3 minutes. Drawn out sound, both nasal and from the chest. Don't know how to describe that. If a human made the sound, it would definitely have to be a male, as it was too deep for a female human to do. It would also have to be a person with a great deal of lung capacity, as each call went on for 10 to 15 seconds. And try that, people. Seriously, like set your timer on and time yourself and try to do a 15-second Bigfoot call. I bet you can't do it. And noted before, came from a distance of at least a couple of miles away. The sound itself, best as I can describe, would be vocalized as a hurrah. Yeah, they spelled it out, but I don't really know how to convey that to you. Sorry. And would go from higher baritone note down to a deeper note at the end. Would go off for every 15 minutes or so. We heard what sounded like something either throwing or pushing some very large rocks onto other rocks. This came from the same general direction, although seemed closer to us on our side of the mountain. This went on for another good 10 minutes or so. Then things got quiet again and stayed quiet for the rest of the night. There were some sounds like large fallen trees were thumping around in the woods, but they were other people in the area by then too. So it could have been some idiots trying to go hiking at night and or fooling around in the woods. Okay. I like that one. Let's see here. We're going to move up to the year 2008, August time, summertime. Again, Pigeon Forge, family vacationing in Pigeon Forge. I know Pigeon Forge has 2 sightings on 2 consecutive nights. It was about 10:30 at night, and we were driving down the road to go to our cabin in the forest, and we saw a large, about 6 or 7 foot ape-like creature walking down the hill in front of our car. Mom and dad and brother all sat there in our seats in awe, then drove away quickly. We had been there the last night at about 12:30 at night, and I had been asleep, and my parents saw the creature for the first time and said it was probably a bear and drove off. But after we saw it the second time, we knew it was no bear. Twarn't no bear. We came back the next morning after the second sighting, and we met another family that said that they had seen the same thing about the same time. They said it came within 5 feet of their car. I never did ask what the face of the creature looked like. They went back the next day and found some broken vine and some slide marks in the leaves. There were about 9 of us, and they were just driving along in their cars. And people do that. People go out and go night sighting and go out and look for night wildlife. It's weird, I know, but you'd have to go up there and understand the way the roadways are. And if it's a clear night and you can see the moon and it's a good moonlit night, just the views themselves can be outstanding. So you kind of have to be on to go there at least once in your life to understand what I'm talking about. But up tonight with the last encounter here, father and son use a spotlight to observe a Bigfoot behind their home near Kodak. That's right. Let's see here. It was late October 2008. 2:30 a.m. My oldest son called me on his cell phone. I was upstairs doing some research on the computer, and he was downstairs on the back porch smoking a cigarette. I could tell by the tone of his voice that he was scared or excited about something. He said, "You need to get out here right now. Light and the shotgun with you." Well, I immediately retrieved both items from my bedroom and met him on the back porch. His eyes were and he looked a little pale. Now, my son, at 18 at the time of this sighting, started hunting in the swamps of North Florida with him when he was 4, and he is very normally doesn't get spooked or very excited very easily. So when I saw him like this, I knew something had definitely gotten his attention. I said, "What's up?" He said, "Point the light over there between the two sheds at the oak tree." And I aimed the spotlight where I thought he had indicated, but saw nothing. Then he said, "No, beside the oak tree." Again, I aimed the light, but still didn't see anything. It became agitated and grabbed my arm, moving the spotlight where he wanted it, and exclaiming, "Right effing there." The light revealed a large, upright figure standing behind the oak tree, standing obliquely to us, hood adjacent, using the tree to block our view. The tree was probably 3.5 to 4 feet in diameter and about 30 yards from us, but we could still see it standing there. With the right side of its body at an angle to us, I noticed how the arms hung almost to its knees, and it stood slouched forward a bit with its knees bent slightly. Brownish red hair, maybe 2 or 3 inches long, and appeared to be uniform in length except for the face, which appeared ape-like. It sounds funny, but the face looks similar to Harry from Harry and the Hendersons. As the animal stood there, I panned the spotlight off to the right. When I did this, it half-stepped from behind the tree, peering to see what we were doing. When I brought the beam of light back, it immediately stepped back behind the tree, remaining angled to that word. You keep using that word. I do not think it means what you think it means. I again panned the light away to the right, and the animal again half stepped out to the right to see what we were doing. When the light came back again, it went behind the tree, almost in amusement. I turned the spotlight off for 3 to 4 seconds, and then I pointed it directly at the tree and hit the switch. The beam of light revealed the animal standing to the right of the oak tree, squarely facing us. When the light came on, the animal squinted and retreated back behind the oak tree. Only this time, we could no longer hear. We retreated back through the woods. I'm sorry. Only this time, it retreated back through the woods, using the tree to block our view. We hear it crashing through the brush. My son and I stood there shaking in amazement of what we had seen. After a moment, I finally managed to smile and say, "Holy crap, dude, we just saw a Sasquatch." With that, my son replied, "Awesome." We went back inside and talked about the details of what we'd seen for quite a while before heading off to bed. The next morning, I went out to look for tracks where we had seen the late night visitor. Here in East Tennessee, the soil's mostly clay and not really conducive to tracking, but I was able to locate 2 footprints behind the oak tree. They measured just under 17 inches in length and about 6.5 inches wide at the ball of the foot. Also, there was another print in the leaf litter to the right of the tree, but it wasn't clear enough to measure due to the hardness of the soil. The tracks were not deep enough to cast. Further investigation did not yield any further tracks or spoor along the animal's route of egress. That's fantastic. I mean, no reason to doubt that this kind of thing happens, especially in the places that they're talking about, having been there. These people live in the wild. I mean, these cities are amongst the wild. It's crazy. Go there. Take a trip to Gatlinburg. It just burned down, but trust me, by next year it'll be beautiful again, and nobody will even know that the fires were off out there. Those people will need your help rebuilding from tourism anyhow. And that, my friends, is going to wrap it up for the Bigfoot encounters for this edition of the Squatchers Lounge podcast. And I'm going to end this edition, as we have over the last few weeks, with another epic Bigfoot campfire story. That's right, and another one directly here from Tennessee. They find Bigfoot in a cave. Can you imagine that? I think I could. With that, I want to thank everybody for being here. Be with you. There will be an after hangout as well. So no worries, people. Thanks so much for being here. Another amazing Bigfoot campfire story will be released this Saturday morning as well. And with that, enjoy this Bigfoot campfire story. you, but I'm pretty sure that was a Bigfoot. Let me tell you a story. Well, this story was told to me by Pete the Caver. Now, Pete spent much of his free time spelunking. That's cave exploring for regular folk. He's up in the mountains of the Great Smoky Mountain National Park. And it seemed one event, something unexpected, caught his attention. Let's hear his story. Well, I'd been camping out near the Hairy Man Cave system, just on the outskirts of Klingman's Dome. The system isn't very well known, and unless you've been there before, I doubt you'd find it for yourself. But I was lucky enough to have gone to school with a local man named Bill. He was kind enough to take me on a hike and show me the entrances to some of the caves. Well, Bill had stayed Friday night with me at the campsite. We sat around talking about the stories from the area. Apparently, these caves were well known with the Indians as having large, hairy people living in them, and for the most part, the locals just left them alone as, well, they aren't very safe. Well, Bill told the story of a local boy that had gone missing, and when they found him near one of the cave openings, it had looked like the child had been dragged there. Spooky stuff as we listened to the coyotes howling in the distance and the glowing full moon overhead. Well, the next morning, Bill packed up and headed back to the car, and I decided, well, no time like the present to start checking out these caves. So I left the note at base camp with my destination expected return time and strapped on my GPS locator, geared up for the caves. The first opening was easy descent, just a meter or so dropped down onto the floor with footholds to get out, so I dropped in my gear and took the plunge. Right away, I noticed this. Unlike any cave I'd been in before, as it seemed almost like an animal den. It smelled of wild beast, and there were bones laying about. Now, nothing that seemed to be recent. In fact, they seemed to be pretty old, so I continued on. Billy told me that this entrance actually had another opening about a half-mile through the hillside, so I went ahead and strapped on my torches, turned on the helmet light and cam, and started off for the other side. Now, just as I had gotten to the bottom of the cave is when I hit the water. Just a little trickle running along the ridge line, not unexpected at all, but I noticed that the light behind me kind of went dark for a moment, as if something had blocked the opening to the cave, but kind of passed quickly. But once I rounded the corner, boy, that was when the cave opened up. Nearly the size of a football field is long and as high as a Superdome was. It's amazingly beautiful. I trekked in about halfway and sat down on a large boulder to kind of get my bearings. The exit was supposed to be on the north face of the wall, so it was so dark my light couldn't penetrate up that far. After a good rest, I put on my pack and started again for the north exit. Now, the trek was kind of tough going, as there wasn't any path, just random rocks and space. I got up to the face of the cave and noticed, well, I'd gone the completely wrong direction, as the exit was well up the other side of the wall. Yeah, but it was easy enough to get to. As I approached the exit, I started to get that weird animal smell again. It got stronger the closer I got to that exit. Now, there were boulders piled up to make it an easy climb in and out, and, well, they'd been there for quite some time, so I figured it had to be safe enough. Well, I took off my pack and I heaved it up onto the ledge above and began to make my climb up that boulder pile. Well, that's when I first noticed the noises. It sounded like somebody was playing with my pack and hooting. I quickly made my way up to the top, and that's when my light hit the opening, and what I saw next just changed the stories into complete reality. About 10 feet in front of me, in the cave entrance, stood a creature of legend, a big, hairy Bigfoot. No other terms need to be used. It stood there, staring into my now broken open pack, quickly grasping at things and tossing them to the side, until my light finally caught its attention, that is. I was shaking so uncontrollably, and the light on my helmet was shaking in this thing's eyes. Well, I suppose it had had enough of that, and it dropped my pack, and it scampered on all fours as it jumped up the 10-foot exit out of the cave and crashed out into the woods. Well, I quickly gathered up my thrown about things and made my way up that gap, and I could tell you it wasn't so easy for me. After 5 minutes or so, I finally managed to get up there, praying the whole time that Bigfoot didn't come back. I quickly made my way back to camp, and, well, it was only about noon, but that didn't matter. I decided I had had enough close encounters with that thing that it can have whatever it wanted. So I went ahead and packed up my crap, and I tore the hell out of there towards the car. I could swear the entire time I packed my stuff, that Bigfoot was watching me. I could hear grunts and light knocks coming from behind my camp. It even seemed to follow me just out of sight and peek from behind trees when I was all but running towards my car. I tossed my stuff into the back seat, and let's just say I left the area at a good rate of speed. Well, this hasn't stopped me from exploring new caves, but at least now I pay a bit more attention to what the locals say are myths and legends. Poor Pete never believed in the hairy man stories. Some people can only believe once they've seen it for themselves. Thanks for listening. I'm Reverend Jeff. May the Squatch be with you.